Module 6, Lesson 3's objective is to create scaled bar graphs. Item 2 says, this bar graph shows the number of liters of water Skylar uses this month. Item A says, during which week does Skylar use the most water? In order to determine this answer, you need to look at weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4 and figure out which one goes the furthest over to the right. Because as you can see, the further over to the right you go, the more number of liters of water that are used. I can see that week 4 goes the furthest over to the right, and so that means that week 4 is the week that Skylar uses the most water. So I'll write that here. The next question on 2A is the least. Which week does Skylar use the least water? This one's up to you. Take a look at weeks 1, 2, 3, and 4 and see which one is the shortest and goes the least furthest over to the right. And then write it on problem A. Item B says, how many more liters does Skylar use in week 4 than week 2? I'm going to underline that. How many more in week 4 than week 2? Let's look at week 4. Week 4 is between the 60 and the 70. So, since it's halfway between 60 and 70, I'll call that 65. In week 2, you can see it goes right here to the 50. So I'll put 50 here. Since you're comparing these 2 weeks, you want to know how many more liters were used in one week than another. You want to know the difference. So the difference between 65 and 50 is the answer to a subtraction problem. Once you figure out the answer to the subtraction problem, you need to write it in a sentence. Skylar uses blank more liters in week 4 than week 2. Item C says, write a number sentence to show how many liters of water Skylar uses during weeks 2 and 3 combined. Well, let's go ahead and underline the important details. Write a number sentence. Weeks 2 and 3 combined. Well, if I look at week 2, I can see, again, that it goes to this line right here, which is 50. And I go to week 3, I can see it goes to this line right here, which is 40. And they want to know how many liters Skylar used in those 2 weeks combined. And if you combine them, you join them together. So that tells me I'm supposed to add. Then I'll answer this in a sentence. Skylar uses blank liters of water in weeks 2, and 3 combined. Item D says, how many liters does Skylar use in total? I'm going to highlight that. How many liters does Skylar use in total? That means how many does he use in all of the weeks together? So let's take a look at week 1. Week 1 is in between the 50 and the 60, so we'll call that 55. And week 2 we already figured out was 50. Week 3 we already figured out was 40. And week 4 we already figured out was 65. If we want to know the total amount used in all of those weeks, we need to join them together or add them. Once you figure out the answer, don't forget to answer in a sentence. Skylar used blank liters. In all. Finally, item E says, if Skylar uses 60 liters in each of the 4 weeks next month, will she use more or less than she uses this month? Show your work. I'll highlight first, if Skylar uses 60 liters in each of the 4 weeks next month, will she use more or less than she uses this month? I'll underline 60 liters in each of the 4 weeks, more or less than she uses this month. I think this will take some scratch paper. I'll go ahead and write next month here. Okay, if she uses 60 liters in week 1, and then 60 liters in week 2, and 60 liters in week 3, and 60 liters in week 4, how many liters will she have used altogether? You already know how many liters she used this month because you figured that out in problem D. Now you have to answer, will she use more or less than she uses this month? Skylar will use blank than she used this month. She will use more than she used this month, or she will use less. All right, don't forget, if you use scratch paper, to attach it to your worksheet so your teacher knows how you solved your problems. Good luck on finishing this up on your own.